I know everyone out here is familiar with the story of David and Goliath. Whether you believe in the Bible and its teachings or think that it's just a fable passed down through the generations doesn't really matter in the context that I'm going to share. So I'd ask you to set aside any religious connotations for now and just listen to the message, because there's much more to the story than just about a good little guy going up against a bad big guy. You know the script. Everyone is terrified to take on this giant of a man until young David steps forward and these two warriors engage in single combat. This is when two representatives come forward from each army to determine victory to avoid massive bloodshed. In this case, the Gaul warrior challenged his Roman opponents, and although everyone was afraid of Goliath, David, who was also just a sheep herder by trade, bravely stepped forward and agreed to face this impressive warrior. You all know that David killed Goliath with a single stone and a slingshot. He beat all of the odds and performed a miracle. But did he? If you look closely at the story, Goliath was prepared for hand-to-hand combat, so he armed himself with several weapons, all optimized specifically for hand-to-hand combat. He wore a tunic with elaborate bronze scales that weighed more than 100 pounds. He had bronze shin guards that covered his legs and feet. He wore a heavy metal helmet and held a javelin made of bronze that could completely pierce through a shield of armor. Goliath's size, his seemingly impenetrable defense, and massive offensive artillery, by all appearances, made him look unbeatable. Goliath was what was considered an infantry, a foot soldier. He was trained and equipped for armed battle at close range. David, on the other hand, was what would be called an artillery soldier. They specialized in archery or slinging. An experienced slinger could kill someone several yards away. As a comparison, imagine standing in front of a major league pitcher and him aiming directly at your head. What do you think his chances of clocking you are? Goliath thinks he's going to be facing another heavily armed infantryman. Instead, David refused a sword and instead reached down and picked up a handful of smooth stones and put them in his leather pouch. David then used the element of surprise, and without the burden of heavy armor, equipped with speed and maneuverability that enabled him to quickly approach Goliath, he slung a single stone into Goliath's exposed forehead and killed him on the spot. In reality, Goliath, the heavily armed soldier, burned down with his defenses, was impressive but slow-moving and had no chance of beating David. David knew his strengths. He played into them, while Goliath relied on power and his apparent advantages. The Bible factors David's faith into the equation. His belief in God and faith is what the heart of the story is about. And while I'm not discounting that, I'm laying out the facts of their encounter. So what are the lessons to be taken away from this experience? Simply this: play to your strengths. Don't try to be something you're not. Certainly work on your weaknesses, but don't put all of your focus there. If you lack punching power, for instance, definitely do things and train to improve on that, but don't dwell on it and try to become a one-punch knockout artist when you're not. Instead, double down on what you're good at. If your natural gift is speed and cunning, then rely on that. Make your natural gift your unbeatable strength. Do you better than anyone else, and that's what will make you unbeatable.